Today we will cover the purchase modules. So here is the standard workflow in KiuERP. You begin with a request for quotation to send out to your vendors. And once the vendor has accepted the request for quotation, you confirm the request for quotation into a purchase order. And confirming the purchase order will generate an incoming shipment if you purchased any stockable products. And upon receiving a vendor bill from your vendor, you can validate the bill with product received in the previous step to ensure accuracy. This process may be done by 3 different people within the company or only one. And we start in all modules of KiuERP. We will start first with the configuration part. And here we have the setting and some special setting for purchase agreement. The setting purchase lead time is the margin of error for vendor lead times when the system generates purchase order for procuring products. They will schedule that many days earlier, the days that you put here, to avoid any delay, any potential delays in vendor's shipment. So if you put here that 1 day, it means the shipment will be scheduled 1 day earlier compared to the purchase order. And the purchase order modification, you can choose between allow to edit purchase order or not, meaning after you confirm purchase order, it will become ineditable. However, I would recommend to choose allow to edit purchase order for more flexibility. And the product variant, in the previous video on products, you have product variants. You will choose between products can have several attributes defining variants. Unit of measure, of course, we will choose the option which offers most flexibility. Costing method, whether you want to set a fixed cost price on each product, or you will use more options, because this will be better aligned with the actual situation where business can choose different costing methods. Cost for tender. This relates to the purchase agreement that we have seen several times here in this module. The vendor price. You can manage vendor price on the product form or allow using and importing vendor price list. I recommend we choose this so that we can import the vendor price list without any difficulty. Warning. All informative or blocking warning can be set on a product or a customer. In the location and warehouse part, you can see that we have a drop shipping option, meaning the purchased product will not be delivered to our warehouse. After the settings, we continue with the configuration, the purchase agreement types. So although they are intimately related, requests for quotation and purchase agreements are not the same, because purchase agreement will include purchase tender and blanket order. Purchase tender and blanket order. I will explain the difference right now. A purchase tender, also known as a call for bids, is used to drive competition between several suppliers in order to get the best offer from a list for a list of products. And in comparison to a request for quotation, a purchase tender will be sent to multiple suppliers and stating each competing with one another, and the best offer will win. The main interest is that it usually leads to better offers. And in the configuration for purchase tender, we will choose the agreement type will be purchase tender as opposed to the other type, which is a blanket order. And the agreement selection type, you can read what it means at your own time, but here I recommend that we select multiple requests for quotation, so that when we confirm one quotation, it will not override others. And the data for new quotations, what option you should choose lies. You can use lines of agreement so that the ordered products will be keyed in automatically when you create a purchase tender, and you do not have to write it again and again in each request for quotation. And the quantities, you can select use quantities of agreement, or you can set quantities manually in each request for quotation. And the other type of purchase agreement is the blanket order. That is the actual order that you place to one supplier that you chose, either through the request for quotation or through the purchase tender, or simply when you have already known which suppliers to order from. Here's how a blanket order works. You can record an agreement for a specific period with one supplier, for example, for 1 year, and you can order products within this agreed period, but divided into different tranches, different times of receipt the products, so that you can benefit from negotiated good price. And when to use a request for quotation or purchase tender or blanket order. A request for quotation is interesting when you have never purchased the product with that supplier before, and thus you don't know their price. It is also useful if you want to challenge your suppliers once you have a well-established relationship with them. You can also use it to assess the cost of the project and see if it makes it feasible. A purchase tender is used for public offers that require an open offering from several suppliers, so that you can get the best offer. It is also useful when you need to make a one-off order for a product and you would like to get just like to get the best offer no matter which supplier it is. And purchase order is used when you have a very good negotiated offer with one supplier and you want to maintain that, but you don't order all the products now, but you will order in different batches, but you want to lock in that price. So use a blanket order in that situation. So we have finished the configuration part. We can start with creating a request for quotation. Alco is not in our vendor list, so we can choose one of our vendors, or you can also create one. I will just put a very basic information here so that we can get it operational now, because we at least need their email to send the request for quotation. And other details, of course, you have to fill it, but maybe not in this example. And one important thing is to define their receivable and payable accounts. So in KiuERP, you see a lot of the arrow symbol like that. That is the link that you can click to edit an existing data. So for the Ambu Rise setting, I want to make sure that the accounting entries have already been defined. Okay. And the vendor reference, you can put the reference for your easy search later. The purchase agreement, I don't use a purchase agreement here because I only create a request for quotation intended for Ambu Rice. And the currency, the order date, by default is today. And down here, the product line, you can add the item that you want to order, or you want to seek a quotation from Ambu Rice. For example, we add jasmine rice, and the quantity will be 100 kilograms with unit price of 10,000. Yeah. Purchase tax, you can adjust based on your actual situation. Here the system leave a purchase tax of 15%. So we have the total inclusive of taxes of 1,150,000 reals. And as I said earlier, once you can now send the request for quotation by email to the vendor. This email content has been prepared in according to a template. However, you can edit it based on your own company's template with support from Q staff, because you can edit it here. And the attachment, that is the request for quotation, you can have a look at the template. So this is the basic templates of request for quotation. Your company's information will appear here, and this is the request for quotation. Of course, KiuERP can customize based on the enterprise request, and so that you can have the standardized templates that you normally use in your company. So you press send, and assume that the supplier send you the request for the quotation for the product, and you agreed on the price. Now you will decide to buy the product by confirming the order. And after confirming the purchase order, these two small boxes will appear. That is, that you have one shipment available for receipt, and another one is to create a supplier bills for recording in your accounting system in ERP. So first you can receive products here, or you press it here, either way, or you can even go to the inventory modules, where it also signals that you have one task to do relating to receipt. But we can continue on our purchase interface. You receive products. And since in the product form you config this product as the track by lot, so you have to define the lot number for this. So you have assigned lot number for the whole shipment, and you click save. Now you see that the text color has turned green, meaning that it is ready to be validated. And done. So this 100 kilograms price have been received to the stock location of your warehouse. And I will also guide you through how step to create supplier bills here. You click on the supplier bills box and click create. And now the draft bill have been appeared. So all the information have been taken from the purchase order. So if you have received all the goods, you can validate the bill. But if say you haven't received all, but you have just received, for example, only 50 kilograms, you can edit the bill yourself, and you will click validate, and you can see that the total amount is automatically divided according to the actually received quantity. And next time when you click on the supplier bill, it will show the remaining 50 kilograms for you to validate. But in this example, we have received all 100%, right? So we will put 100 kilogram here and click validate. Normally, the procurement officer can only create the draft bill, and the accountant in their accounting interface will validate the bill or register payment, that is like the part of the accounting section. This directly is the because I'm using an administrator account, so I can have access to all these functions. But normally, when you operate in your company, the access rights will be clearly defined, where the uh, procurement officer may not have the right to register payment or approve the bill, for example. So we have finished this one. Now I will take an example of the purchase agreement. For the vendor's part, uh, okay, that is the contact that we have done earlier. But in purchase module, the contacts only contain vendors, and the vendor price list, that is the price list related to the product. So you can see that we have some vendor price list already here, and you can import the vendor price list to the system, applying the same principle that we have used quite regularly in importing the data. Products, that's the list of purchasable or buyable products, and the product variants, that will show the variants of the products that we have. In this control tab, you can see that you can track the incoming products if you have any unreceived products. But since we have we have some shipment that we haven't received to our stock location from the previous purchase order, so you can do it here right now. For example, you order some 200 units of Sunsilk shampoo on the 12th of September, but you haven't received it. For example, if you can create a new purchase agreement, and the reference will be automatically generated. The responsible will be yourself. The agreement type, you can choose between a purchase tender or a blanket order. First, I will choose a purchase tender. And with purchase tender, you will send to multiple supplier, right? So you do not define a supplier here. The agreement deadline, meaning the validity of this agreement, normally it's like a quotation. So you can choose whether it's a month period or a quarter period. It depends. The ordering date, delivery date, source document, picking type, it will be received to the Q warehouse, the company, and this the order lines. You can add an item, like for example, if you want to search the best price for a MacBook Air, so you can add like that. Say you only want to buy, say you want to buy 5 MacBook Air. And you can see that the unit price is unknown yet. And you click save. For example, if you want to buy 5 MacBook Air, so you click confirm the purchase tender, and now you can see that this small box appear. It shows how many requests for quotation that you have for this purchase tender. You can click on this and create requests for quotations one by one. So first of all, if you want to send to Apple Inc., and this because of our setting, this have been automatically keyed in the sale. This one, the deliveries and invoice, normally it's set by default. The delivered to will always goods will always be delivered to the stock location at the Q warehouse, the main company's warehouse, unless you specify another delivery method or option for it. And billing status, payment term, fiscal position, etc. You can define it here. Normally it will be set by default, so if you want to change, remember to click on this and make your preference. And you can send this request for quotation to Apple Inc. And you can return to the purchase tender to add more requests for quotation. So you could send to another supplier, for example, Mr. Lucky, and send. And so you can repeat the step for how many vendors you want to send the request for quotations. And then if you, now for example, you have searched the price, seek the best price from the 2 vendors, and you decide to choose one of them. For example, if you choose Apple Inc., you can click and confirm order. Sorry, before that you have cancel, set to draft, because you remember that in setting we chose to edit the purchase order even after it's been confirmed. So we have this kind of flexibility. First, you have to enter the unit price that you receive from the supplier. For example, ₱2,000,000. you can confirm order to purchase from Apple Inc. And the remaining steps will be the same as when you start with a request for quotation or a purchase order. Another type of purchase agreement is a blanket order. You choose blanket order here. And in blanket order, because you have already known the supplier that you want to buy from and even the unit price. So for example, the unit price will be 2 million, which will remain unchanged until last time we choose until the end of September. But you don't want to order in one batch, but you want to order in different batches. So first of all, or you can choose a longer time span, for example, until the end of this year. And every month you will order, say, 2 MacBook Air, for example. Quantity will be 10. Confirm. So between now and the end of this year, you will order 10 MacBook Air from Apple Inc. At a unit price of 2 million reals. However, you will divide it into different batches. So first of all, you will create a request for quotation, or I mean, this is the purchase order in essence. Quantity 5, and you confirm order. And this order will be scheduled for the 31st of December. You have order 5. You can return to this and create new quotation with sooner delivery date. It's also possible. For example, you can choose to receive 5 MacBook Airs on 15th of October. And you confirm order. So that's how the purchase agreement works in KiuERP. Remember that you can either start from request for quotation, but if you already know the supplier you want to order from and you already know the price, there's no need to send the request for quotation. You can click directly on the purchase order and create a new procurement order. And so what are the other information in these modules that you need to pay attention to? The vendors, that is the contact list, that contains the vendor only, not the suppliers, or you can click here and see. So this is filtered by vendors only. However, when you can, it will show your entire contact list. And the vendor price list. When you put the price for the products, it will all appear here in the vendor price list. You can also import your vendor price list to this as well, applying the same principle as I have shown with product list and the contact list. First of all, we will choose an existing record and export for a template. So what information you want to appear on the vendor contact list, the vendor price list. First of all, the company, the end date, that means the valid period of the quotation, the minimal quantity, whether you have to start from a certain minimum quantity to receive that price, and most important, the price. The start date, that is the start and end date, should be next to each other so you can move up. Start date, end date, that means the valid period. And the supplier, you can add the supplier, so you can remove the company here because the supplier will be more relevant. And that is the supplier product code or supplier product name. That is the okay. Price. And this one you can save the list. And you choose import compatible export format CSV, export to file. So there's several things to note here. That is the first column ID, we can always delete that. And the name ID, that is the partner, meaning the supplier, but since all technicals field with ID will not appear as the text string, but will appear in the form of a technical string. That means you will have to export a list of suppliers first to see their ID, and you can copy their ID here. And the start date, the end date, you can put it here. The product name, the minimum quantity, and the price. So you can update this list and import back to the system. The products and product variants, that is the purchase of the list of products that you can see in sales module, purchase module, and inventory and other product related modules. So that is the we can also look at the control tab where you can keep track of the incoming products, that is the incoming shipment to receive to your warehouse, and the vendor bills, which are the draft bill. That is open, it meaning like you will need to register payment for that. And the reports, which shows the statistic on your procurement during the month, arranged in the form of a pivot table, and you can track with all the by month, by company, by vendor, or by warehouse, etc. And so it gives you a snapshot of what you procured during a certain period of time. Thank you.